our goal at a bridge is just to help people go from where they are today to where they want to be, right? That's what bridges do. You go from this side to that side. And here comes Jakob. And so, we help people do that. We help teams do that. And for us, it's kind of a blend of both coaching and
Sorry.
training. Hey, Jakob, good to see you.
Hey, Jacob.
That's
Hi,
it.
Jakob.
We're just
Hello.
really getting started.
Yeah. Same
Coaching are
thing.
those one-on-one calls, video, kind of Zoom relationships where you get to process and um, kind of problem solve together. Derek, I know, is a great listener, so you, hold you accountable, all the things. But training for us, we think, is also super important. Hey, we got somebody else.
Jamie
Hello,
too.
Jamie.
Jamie.
Hey, Jamie.
I can figure mine out. I'll just join his if that's okay.
Hey,
Great.
good to
Fantastic.
see
That
you.
works.
Hi.
And so that's what we're doing today. And training for us is where we really focus on building leadership skills, right? Not are we breading chicken correctly? Are we repeating every order? Are we expoing, using our preferred system? But are we building those skills to help us lead and influence other people? So we'll definitely stop today for some parts where I'll ask some questions, and we 100% want to hear your thoughts. Whether you have some insights, you're thinking about how to apply something to your context, you have some pushback or disagreement, any of that's completely fair game. And then if you take notes, wonderful. But even if you don't, I always prepare a handout ahead of time that has all the main points that we'll cover today. So if you feel like, oh, that screen wasn't, he moved on from the screen, I wasn't done. If you're already in our leadership portal, I think Megan, you probably are. Derek, you can access this there. But if you aren't in our portal yet, Derek can help you get a hold of this. And it's a PDF. So you'll have all the notes you want. Okay. So today's session is on feedback. And for us, this is really kind of a part two. Last month, we started talking about feedback, more about being on the receiving end and valuing feedback. But last month, we defined feedback this way. We said feedback is really just an opportunity to get an external perspective about ourselves, right? This is just a chance for us um, to hear from somebody else about our life, our leadership, how they're experiencing us, how we might be coming across. And last month we said we really want to be able to give great feedback. And the start of that is by learning to receive feedback and by valuing it ourselves, right? The more we're able to receive it and believe it's important, then we'll kind of be better positioned to actually offer our perspective or our insights to somebody else. And we said that feedback really is valuable because it does a couple things for us. First, it helps us see our biases and our blind spots. When we hear from other people, we realize that, oh, we've only been seeing the world through our own lens. And there's some things we might see a certain way. There are other things we can't see at all. And feedback helps us identify those things. And once we identify them, sometimes it really helps us stay out of trouble, right? We avoid repeating the same mistakes, or we avoid going a certain direction, or we can make adjustments to go in the direction where we want to and make progress. So that was kind of those are some of the big ideas we talked about last month around the value of feedback. And then we just kind of acknowledge that feedback is very valuable and it helps if we can receive it, right? Doesn't matter what insights people have for us if we can't actually take them in, take them to heart, and apply them. And so we spent some time last month talking about a bunch of ideas to grow in our ability to receive feedback. And if you weren't on that training, we have a video of that. Derek can help you figure out how to watch as well. And last month's notes too. So all that's available and accessible. Today, we want to talk about the other side and giving feedback. And I'm just curious, maybe just a nod of heads, would we all agree that the ability to give other people feedback is an important leadership skill? Everybody feel like, yeah, that's kind of a given. Well, why is that? Like, why is it important that if you're going to lead others, whether it be in the kitchen, front of house, operations, food safety, why is it so important that we can share our perspective with the people we lead? And I'd love to actually hear if anybody has an idea or two. Why is it so important to be able to give feedback? What do you think?
To help others grow.
It does help others grow. Fantastic. And you know what? When our teams get better, that helps us, right?
Mhm.
Helps
Yeah.
our guests, helps the business. What else comes to mind? Why is it important to give feedback?
It's
I think,
important.
okay, go ahead, Josiah.
It's important for people to know their expectations and
Mm.
where we want them to be, so that we can't blame them for being where they are.
Josiah, man, love that. Yeah, if we're going to have expectations, people have to be really clear on it. People can't live up to things they haven't agreed to, right? Or aren't clear about. So, love what you were saying. Jakob, you were going to hop in. You had an idea about why it's
Yeah,
important.
it's something similar. It's just to remind the goals. We all have goals.
Mm.
It's just the like our way towards the goal. So to eliminate any cutting corners, just to reach that goal. We're working as a team
Mm.
and we have the same goal.
You guys got big goals. And I love what you said, Jakob, because people cut corners. They get comfortable. They look for easier ways to do things. And so I think what I hear you saying is sometimes feedback keeps us aligned.
Yeah.
Make sure we're doing the right thing, the right way, going for our goals together.
Mhm.
That's all good. Megan, any thoughts there?
No, I think it's pretty much what they all said, to have everybody at that standard that you want. And, like they said, like some people might not know the standard or what's expected. So this really sets the expectation and what's needed of them.
It's good. Good stuff. Well, we know feedback is important, and yet I know Derek's worked with a lot of leaders. I've worked with a lot of leaders who would say, man, I struggle to give feedback. So the truth is, we all probably have different comfort levels. And I'm going to rank them 1 to 4, and then I'm going to ask you to hold up some fingers to show me where you think you're at. So 4 would be, man, I'm an old pro. Like I've been given feedback so long, it's just second nature. I don't worry about it. I just know how to do it. 3 would be like, I think I'm competent. Like maybe I've had to work at this, but I built some skill and sure I got room to grow, but most of the time I feel pretty comfortable. 2 would be like, hey, I'm working on it. Maybe it's not natural for me and I still get a little anxious or I worry, but I'm trying. And then 1 would be, oh, I don't want to do that. I know I need to, but I kind of dodge and I avoid. And I really hope, Megan will do it because she can speak up more than me or whoever. Right. So just kind of a show of fingers. Where would you put yourself on that 1 to 4 scale? Where are you at?
Mm,
You can just hold them up. I
3.
see a 3,
I see.
a 2, a 3, and a 3. Okay, good. Yeah, I would say probably in the last 5 years of just coaching lots and lots and lots of leaders, coached for a long time, but in the last 5 years, I've probably gone from a 2.5 to a 3.5, right? So the good news for us is like this isn't fixed. We can get better. Some of you are at a 3, used to be at a 1, right? And so whatever your score is today, it doesn't have to stay there. You probably have a wiring like I know people who are happy to tell you what they think all the time. They're not worried about how you're going to take it or your feelings. They're just kind of wired to be very direct. They don't understand why we would struggle to give feedback, some of them. And then others of us maybe are a little more hesitant. We really think about the impact of our words on people and maybe we hold back a little bit, right? So this is definitely something we can get better in. And as we talk about getting better at giving feedback, I want to give you this picture. I want to invite you to think about feedback as something that one person is trying to pass to another person, right? And certainly that person needs to catch it. You can give the best, most accurate, kindest most actionable feedback in the world. And if they don't do anything with it, right, nothing really good happens. And yet, if somebody's going to have a chance of receiving what we have to offer, we've got to do a good job at passing it to them, right? So here's our big idea for today. Feedback can really help others. It can help them. It can help the business. It can help our guests. It can help the team. It can help us if we can deliver it in ways that helps them to receive it. Okay, now all the receiving's not on us, but a lot comes down to delivery, I think. And even if you're not a sports fan, football season is coming up. We have any sports fans on the call? Okay, we've all seen football before, right? And just such a common thing, like they're passing the ball. One person starts with it, they're trying to get it to the other person, and it sounds like it would be easy, and yet honestly, a whole lot of things have to go right, right? In football, the quarterback has to do a whole lot of things correctly if the receiver's even going to have a chance to catch. And I don't think that's very dissimilar when it comes to giving feedback. So today I want to talk about some feedback fundamentals. right? Just some basic things we can do to get better at giving feedback in a way that gives our team a chance to really receive it. Ultimately, they're going to decide if they're going to receive it, but we want to put them in a good position, right? To at least have a chance to catch what we're offering to them. So imagine, you found out that your Chick-fil-A is going to play the next closest Chick-fil-A in a touch football game. And your operator came to you and said, you're the quarterback. You're like, hey, I'm not really much of a thrower. I don't care. You're the quarterback. You'd probably hop on YouTube, right? Or grab somebody to coach you up. And if you Googled for 5 minutes, you would find out that like there's a whole host of things a quarterback does to be able to just get the ball out of his hands or her hands. If we got ladies playing flag these days, I think in the Olympics this year we got some ladies playing flag football, which is awesome. So there's certain things they do with their head, with their eyes, with their shoulders, with their arm angle, with their the way they grip the ball, the release. They use their legs, their hips, their feet. Like, man, I watched quarterback drill videos and I got worn out just watching them. Like there are so many nuances to just be able to throw a ball to somebody else. And so you might think about this like some fundamentals, like what are the fundamentals of offering our insights, our observations, our encouragement, our constructive criticism to somebody else in a way that can catch it. Okay. And I'm going to unpack, I think I've got 8 of these, right? And we'll go pretty quick today, I promise. But here's what I want you to listen for. I want you to listen for the ones that you think you already do well. Because if I'm going to cover 8, chances are like a lot of the stuff and you've been working on it and you're like, hey, 3 or 4 or 5 of those I think I'm pretty good on, or I've made a lot of progress maybe. And then I also want to encourage you to listen maybe just for 1 or 2 that over the next month you could focus on, because most of the things we focus on give us an opportunity to get better, right? So no way you can focus on 8 things. Listen for the 1 or 2 that you're like, man, if I could just get a little better there, I think my feedback could really improve for our team. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay, we're going to dive in. Here's the first fundamental. You got to know the play, right? You've got to know the play. And what I mean by that is when it comes to giving feedback, you actually need a plan. So you guys said you watch football. People don't just wander around hoping somebody will throw them the ball, right? Like every single time they call a play. And everybody has a job on the play, and the 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 people who might catch the ball all have a spot they're supposed to go to, certain distance away, maybe even at a certain time. It gets pretty complex. And we understand plays. We have drive-through plays, right, at Chick-fil-A. We have hospitality plays, and we were catering plays. And I think the basic idea I wanted to kind of mine here is whether or not feedback is really a part of your culture. Like, are you in a business where there's a play as leaders and there's a play in our development and our goals where we know we are going to give feedback? How many of us would say we think, at least on some level, feedback's kind of baked into our culture? What do you think? Some nods? Okay. So here's how you know if that's true. Is the team expecting to receive feedback? When you give people feedback, are they like, why are you telling me how I'm doing? Or are they like, yep, I've been waiting on this. Like, I know every shift you're looking to see how you can make me better or tell me what I'm doing well. Are our leaders prepared to give feedback? Have we actually been taught as leaders, and have we taught our young and emerging leaders how to do this thing? Because there's a skill to it. And then are we clear on why we give feedback, right? Some people, if they don't know, they think you're picking on them or you're punishing them or you're trying to shame them. And instead, we know we said these things like we're trying to keep everybody aligned. We want to do the right way, the right thing every time because we got goals we're focusing on, because we're trying to grow, because we're trying to achieve. And so, hey, when I'm telling you what you could do better when you're on primary, it's because like we've got some goals we're chasing here. And when Josiah's on him about cleaning and checklists and no repeats, it's because he's got some food safety goals he's chasing, right? So I think we start there. Like, if feedback's not a part of our culture or even our own personal leadership, people might be surprised. Like, man, how come you're telling me about my work, right? You should just trust me in my work ethic. No. We have a plan. Like, feedback's one of the plays that we run around here. And the truth is, we have lots of chances to affirm this, right? I would advocate this should be a part of your hiring process. Like when we hire people, we should tell them, like, we are a high feedback culture because we want everybody to grow, because we want to be on the same page, because we're chasing goals. And when they're onboarding, right, we should set the tone from the very beginning. Like, and I'll talk more about this, but we're going to tell you what you're doing really well, and we're going to tell you how to keep getting better, right? So they should expect from the beginning. And then as we're training, I mean, is there any more natural place to give feedback than training? Because somebody knows they don't know what they're doing. So we have a chance to say, that's it, a little slower on that, a little more there. Nope, not quite it. Like, as we train. And then I would say, anytime people move into a new role or a new skill, like, it's just a wide open door because they know, like, hey, I've been a front of the house guy. I've never worked in the kitchen. I'm sure I'm going to need a lot of feedback as I'm learning how to be a team member back in the kitchen, or hey, I mean, I've been a certified trainer, but now I'm going to lead a shift. And as a shift leader, I'm sure I've got a lot to learn. I need to know what I'm doing well, what I need to do differently, how to get better. Right. So I think it starts there. Like, we need to make sure that this is a part of our culture and take all the opportunities we can to just let people experience feedback over and over. Here's the second fundamental. You probably ought to warm up, right? You probably ought to warm up. I'm getting old, so I need to warm up for about anything in life. But for most things, we
Same.
probably shouldn't go from 0 to 100, right? And what I mean is we should start small. So I've gotten to take my son to a couple pro football games, and we got there early when they were out on the field warming up. And when they start passing the ball, they don't try to throw a 50-yard pass right away. They stand like 5-6 yards apart, and they just kind of toss and catch. And then as the receiver gets warmed up and the quarterback gets warmed up, they start to go further, right? So what would it look like if feedback's not a really like everyday part of your business? What would it look like to start small? How could you start giving feedback? Or maybe you've got a new team member who's not used to this. Where could we begin? So a couple suggestions. I'd encourage you to start with the things that are clear and easily observable, right? If feedback is kind of on the front end and it's newer, don't start with really nuanced opinions or dots that you're connecting about why somebody might be behaving in a certain way, right? Start with, hey, we have core 4, and we make eye contact and we smile and we offer warm greeting and we say, my pleasure. They're either doing those things or they're not. You probably have a standard of how you make drinks, and the ice goes up to here. And, I don't know how Chick-fil-A teaches it, but the Fred way of making a half cut tea is it's the unsweet first and then the sweet on top. If I'm ever running in front of the house, that's the rule, because the sweet will filter down, but the bottom, if it's on the bottom, it'll never filter up. You drink it, then you have unsweet tea. Okay, that's my own personal gripe. I'm just sharing with y'all today. Thanks for the grace. Whatever it is, something really specific, right? We always repeat the order. They either repeated the order or they didn't. Right? So I'd start with something that there's not really a lot of argument about. It's obvious this happened or it didn't happen. And then you might start with a specific area of opportunity. Hey, we're really leaning in on order accuracy. Like, that's our goal, where we're trying to move the needle on this month in the front of the house. And so I'm going to focus my feedback on the things that set us up to succeed with order accuracy. Did we repeat the order? Did we check for sauces? Whatever your list looks like, right? So you don't have to give feedback about everything. You could say, right now, we're really focused on this. I'm just going to focus here and give people a chance to get better in one specific area before I tell them everything I observe and see. Okay, one more fundamental, and then I'm going to pause and hear from you. And that's make a good read, right? Make a good read. And what I mean is use your eyes. So before a quarterback ever throws a ball, they've got a plan, but then they need to see if the plan is actually going to work with what the defense is doing, right? So before we can say anything, we probably need to look around and observe and make sure we're seeing things accurately, particularly because you all come from a dynamic environment, right? Like on the screen, they can run these patterns in practice with no defense, but once you put another team out there, it gets a little confusing and dynamic and messy, right? And so that's why, if you're a sports fan, you see quarterbacks throw interceptions. They thought that person was open, but they really weren't. Okay, what do I mean? Well, when it comes to making a good read, are you looking for opportunities to give feedback? Are you starting each shift saying, okay, as a leader, as a coach in my business, I'm going in looking for opportunities to give feedback? Because if you're not, chances are you're going to be busy enough. You're going to have people call out. You're going to have catering come in. You're going to have things go on. And it will be really easy to not look for the opportunity. If something big happens, you'll be like, hey, that's not the way we do it. We need to fix that. But otherwise, it's easy to miss. So are you looking for opportunities? Here's some ways to do that. First, focus on a few. You probably have a few people on each shift that if they would get better, it would really help the rest of the team. Can you think of anybody like that? Man, if she would get better, if he would get better, things would run a little better. Maybe they're some of your lower performers, or maybe they're your people that are just on the edge of making the leap into leadership. And if we could just get him to be consistent, then we might be able to promote him, right? Or if we could just get her to master that role, then we could move her into another role. And then focus on what they're doing well. We're going to talk more about this. But I think too often we hear feedback and we instantly assume it's all about what's not good, what's not right. I think people need to hear, yep, that's it. Man, that's perfect. Love the way you're doing that. Great sense of urgency. That was such a warm greeting. Way to go. Man, that's exactly what our breading's supposed to look like around here. All the little positive things. And then where could a small adjustment help? Right? It's not that they're necessarily way off, but if they would just tweak it a little bit. You guys all look like you've done this for a while. So you've learned the tips and the tricks that if they would just make these couple of adjustments, like things would just flow better. They would be faster, right? We get more of the results we're looking for. And then is there anything that just isn't aligned with our standards or processes? Where it's like, hey, we got to address that. We follow pathway, that's not pathway. Or we have a specific way we do things around here. Jakob, you mentioned shortcuts. We don't take shortcuts around here, right? So are you seeing that? Are you seeing what's good, what just needs some tweaking, and then like, hey, we're just not aligned there, right? We need to get back on our plan, our process, our way of doing things around here. Okay, let me hear from you. Questions or thoughts just about these fundamentals. Like, is feedback a play we really run? Are we willing to start small so we can build up to being, the big things we have to share? And then are we using our eyes to see the places and the people that might need feedback? So let me hear some thoughts, pushback, questions, ideas, opinions, any of that.
Yeah, I think for me, having like a low tenured leadership team and them coming from different companies, thinking about, hey, do they even know our play? Do they know that we have a structure behind feedback? As maybe when the one girl came from Crumble, like I don't know how it was at Crumble. Did they have a certain amount of times that they had reviews and feedback and sit downs, and then coming into here, does she know that? So I just think about the people that are coming on, and as they become leadership and are newer to the company, do they know what we do here? And is that easily, do we explain that well? Do we show that? Are we showing what we're saying? All that stuff.
Oh, Megan, I love that. That's I think one, you're not assuming that just because they've been in quick food service, it's all the same. We know Chick-fil-A is not all the same, but do they know that?
Yeah.
And Derek may have another thought. The first thought that comes to mind for me is that'd be a great question to ask her.
Yeah.
Hey, I'm wondering what differences you're seeing, or I'm wondering, did they give you regular feedback at Crumble, or what did this part of their process look like? Anything there? Do you want to hop in?
Yeah, Megan, as you were talking, my mind immediately went to what's the definition of their feedback or their experience with it? It's like, because feedback's not always feedback, and right, like I know, and I've been in organizations and been part of them, or just observed, and it was very domineering, or top down, authoritative, and that's it's kind of makes people recoil a little bit when they think of feedback in that kind of context. And so I think even to Fred's point, just getting them to define and try to understand people's experience with with feedback, and it may not be inexperience. They may have just had a bad experience. And so just trying to understand is where my mind went.
Oh, Derek, I love that, man. I think especially if somebody's scared, nervous, resistant, anxious, it's probably based on an experience they've had before, or maybe their wiring or both. And so there may be an opportunity there, Megan, to set somebody's mind at ease.
Yeah.
Like, oh yeah, who said feedback? I just had a post-traumatic well, it's not how we do it here, right?
Yeah.
That's good. Josiah, Yoka, Jamie, what comes to mind for you about these ideas? Anything resonate?
For me, it's like when you're training like a new team lead, am I giving them enough feedback so they can do their job well? And I also ask them, like, I want feedback too. Did I do okay training you? What else could I do better next time for the next person, maybe?
That's good. Love that. Yeah, we'll talk a little bit about that a little bit later on, but I love that you went there. Anybody else?
I like the know the play, because something we run into at times is we have like coaching conversations and we have a system to where the team can see them so they can refer back to them, see what we coach them on.
Good.
Sometimes those have a negative connotation, and I'm sure Jamie and Yoku ran into it. Oh my God, you gave me a coaching conversation. It's, hey, I'm just trying to, just trying to coach you, help you get better. I'm not punishing you. That's not negative. It's just so you can see it, I can see it, another leader can see it, and hey, I see you're working on this. How can I help you? So I think know the play is super important.
That's good. Yeah, and what I hear there, Josiah, is really your heart. Hey, we want to help you get better. Like, we care about you here.
Yeah.
We care about the work you do. We want you to feel good about what you do here. And part of that's like getting better and doing it well. And so these coaching conversations are there to really help you.
Yeah.
Yeah. Same. Well, Josiah and I, we work together in the kitchen, so we have the same thoughts. Right there, know the play, the coaching conversation, and warming up. Been working out, especially warming up, starting off positive, and then going to actual feedback. So that's been really helpful as well. But obviously, most of the times we can get that negative pushback as well. But then we just remind that like know the play. We just remind that everything is we're doing. We have the common goals, and we're just getting there. I mean, it's just helping us to grow.
That's
Well,
good. Yeah, love it. Megan, you want to hop in? No pressure.
No, you're good. Yeah, I also thinking about, make a good read. I think when I think of that, I think of, being able to read when do I need to give that feedback? Is it in that moment or is it a separate conversation? Because I've had a struggle with the leader and I've come to know that he hates when I call him out right then and there. Like it needs to be a separate away from other people because I know his ego is so big that if I say it in front of other people, he won't take it well and he'll fight back on it a little. So, making a good read of, when to do it, when not to do it, when needs to be an urgent, can wait a day or two. So that's another one that, kind of stands out for me.
Well, this is fun for me because I think the things you're bringing up, like I have more to say about. So that means we're on the right track is what makes it exciting for me. So, all this stuff happens, if we were throwing the ball to each other physically, all this happens before the ball's left my hand, right? This is about, is this planned? Have we practiced a little bit? Am I sure of what I'm seeing? Haven't even thrown anything to you yet, right? So let's talk about when we do deliver feedback. I'm just going to use this term. Is it catchable? Like, does the person actually have the best chance possible to receive it? So again, if we were just throwing the ball out in the yard or we're watching a football game, there are a whole lot of places a quarterback can throw the ball where they can't catch it. They can throw it too far out in front. They can throw it behind. They can throw it too high. They can throw it too low. They can throw it too hard or too soft. So if we took that picture and applied it to our feedback, let me give you a few more fundamentals. First, is our feedback on time, right? Like, are we timing it as best we can? None of us are perfect. We're going to make mistakes, but are we timing it to land well? What do I mean? Well, first, are we talking about something that's current, right? An ancient proverb says this: Like golden apples in silver settings, so is a word spoken at the right time. So words are powerful, but this little proverb says for them to be valuable, you don't just need the right word, it needs to come in the right moment. Right. And we've probably all been on the receiving end of some of those moments where somebody spoke a word of encouragement to us when we were just desperate for us, or maybe they spoke a word of challenge when we really needed it, or they believed in us more than we believed in ourselves, right? And it just hit at the right time. So I heard somebody say once, feedback does not age well. When you're like, hey, 8 shifts ago, I heard you say this thing. I don't remember 8 shifts ago. Or, even if you're giving feedback to your operator, hey, 6 months ago when I was in the kitchen and you walked in and hadn't even seen you in 3 weeks, and the first thing you did was tell me where something wasn't, they don't remember that, right? So I would say just like we practice a lot of food safety and we date and we temp and like feedback needs to be fairly current to be really, really helpful. It doesn't mean we can't ever talk about something from the past, but if we're consistently addressing what's coming up, then we can kind of keep it current. I would say part of things being on time is, are they receptive and open? Right? Is this a moment where they're receptive and open? The same ancient proverb goes on, and the next sentence says this: like a gold ring and a fine gold ornament, so is constructive criticism to the ear of one who listens. Right? To really be valuable, people have to receive it. But if we can see they're not open and they're not receptive and they're not in a place for that conversation, we're probably not giving them the best chance to receive it. So what do I mean? Well, I think sometimes it's about timing, right? There's some feedback we can give people on the fly. We're in the middle of a shift, they're doing something right, we can tell them. They need a small adjustment, we can tell them. There are other things that we know, look, it's too busy to really talk about this. Or as Megan said, some people, they don't want the chaos when they get feedback. They don't want an audience, maybe. So when things slow down, maybe we can pull back to the office and we can talk for a couple minutes if we need to. And then we may just say, hey, before your next shift starts, I just want to sit down with you for 10 minutes. Or before you leave tonight, I want to sit down with you for 5 minutes. Like, let's get the work done and then let's plan a connection. Right? So we have some timing options when we think about giving feedback on time. There's another fundamental that goes hand in hand with this, and it's got to be on target. Right? The feedback has to be on target. A couple of ways to think about this. First, I really want to suggest with you, in fact, if I really were going to lean in and challenge you on one thing today, it'd probably be this one. For feedback to be consistently helpful to people, it needs to be balanced. Balanced. I don't know if you've ever seen anybody that works one part of their body really, really hard and ignores another part. I see people in my gym that look a little something like this, right? They just skip leg day all the time. And they've overdeveloped something and they've underdeveloped something else. Mm-hmm. And in my experience, been leading people for 30 some years, giving feedback, getting feedback. I would advocate we really need a balance of both the positive and the negative. Right? More than we probably would believe. And I'm going to give you some stats here in a minute. Give you some data. People need more positive feedback if they're going to be able to receive the negative feedback well. Mm-hmm. So I don't need you to say it out loud, but if you had to come up with a number for you, what would your ratio of positive to negative feedback be like? Like, would it be like for every one positive comment, I give one negative comment? And negative just might be constructive, right? But we'll just define negative as something that needs to change. Positives like, do that, keep doing more of that, right? You had a great sense of urgency, keep that up. You were really focused, keep that up. Man, you really crushed that checklist, you got it all done, keep it up. The negative would be more like, hey, we need to do something differently here. So, in your own head, man, when I'm running a shift, when I'm leading a team, what's my own ratio of like, hey, that's great. Hey, this needs work. Another way to ask this is, what level of performance are you looking for out of your team? Are you looking for low performance, medium performance, or high performance? My guess is we're all looking for the last one, right?
Yeah.
Like we don't show up like, I hope my team's really mediocre today. Now, if you've got a lineup and you're like, whoo, this is a rough lineup. Like, are all the A and B players on vacation? I don't know. Like, this is going to be rough. Medium would be okay. If we get medium out of today, that might be good. But mostly, we're looking for high performance. Well, let me show you what the data shows about the impact on the ratio of positive to negative feedback and performance. Low performing teams tend to hear about one positive statement for every 3 negative ones. They hear this isn't good enough and that needs to change and I don't like that. Oh yeah, that's okay. Typically that is going to be an ingredient in a low performing team kind of culture. Medium teams get about 2 positives for every 1 negative. Hey, that was great. Man, that's what we're looking for. This needs to change. Medium performance. Research shows that the highest performing teams, and I've actually rounded down. The number I'm going to show you is rounded down because it was like a 0.6, but I took it down to the next whole number. It's 5 positive comments for every 1 negative comment. That surprise anybody?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a lot, isn't it? Now, I'm not saying you need to make things up, right? You don't have to make anything up. But I learned a long time ago that whatever you're looking for, you probably see. If you're looking for what's missing and what's wrong and what the bottlenecks are, you're going to see them. If you're also looking for, man, where are we doing okay? What's going right? You're also going to see that. And so just to be able to have opportunities, you know, just to affirm, that's it. That's what we're looking for. Way to do that. That was perfect, right? Doesn't have to be a coaching conversation about it. It could just be like, you know, especially if you've had somebody struggle with something, you know, they had their uniform's been sloppy, maybe even had to write them up for it. And then they come and look and put together. It's like, man, your uniform looks great today. Or you got somebody that, man, they've struggled to be on time and they're there 10 minutes early. Like, man, thanks for showing up early today. That's exactly what we're looking for, right? Or you've got somebody who hasn't been following pathway and now you've coached them and they've actually adjusted and they're doing the right thing the right way every time. It's like, that's perfect. Yep. Love that. Thanks for, you know, breading that chicken exactly like, thanks for sifting the coder. Thanks for doing exactly what we've told you to do. Right. And then when people hear what they're doing right, you know what they tend to do? They do more of that. Right.
Yeah.
When your operator comes to you and praises you for something, aren't you like, well, I'm going to keep doing that?
Mm-hmm.
Or you're like, I did it once. I'm good. No, you're like, man, if that's what they're looking for, I'm going to keep doing that. Our team's the same way, right? So when we think about being on target, we want to think about being balanced. And balance doesn't even mean 1 for 1, right? And even if you're thinking, I don't know how to get to 5, well, could you get to 3? Could you get to 4? You still have a shot at being above that medium performance level. Another aspect of being on target is being accurate, right? Are we actually giving accurate feedback? What do I mean? Well, I think when we think about being accurate, we have to be aware of our own biases and inferences. And I'm guilty of this. I think I can figure out why somebody's doing something by looking at them, and I'm not always right. Or you probably know leaders that you thought, man, there's certain people they don't like and there's certain people they do like. They've got their own biases, right? We need to be aware as we're given feedback that we're not a computer. We're not a video camera. Like we have opinions and thoughts that funnel into the feedback we're giving. If we're giving feedback based on what we've heard from somebody else, I really want to encourage you to verify it. Because you might have a leader said, well, she did this, or I heard him say that. And that might be what they think they heard or what they think they saw. But I can tell you multiple stories about, you know, Chick-fil-A leaders who check the cameras and what they were told is not what actually is there on camera, right? So just be sure you verify. And then I would say, maybe most importantly, look for patterns, right? Everybody has a bad day. Everybody has a bad moment. I worked with this young leader and he said something that stuck with me. He said, I don't usually address something until I see it more than once. Now, I mean, if it's pathway, if it's clear, if it's a safety violet, yes. But if it's like, I don't really like that, is is that their new standard, or is that like their attitude all the time, or and then if I see it, he's like, I'll let it, but then if I see it again, I'm like, okay, now we've got a pattern, right? Now we have more than one data point. And then I don't feel bad about saying, hey, I've been kind of paying attention, and a few times I've seen you respond this way when things get really stressful. You just freaked out on the team. Like that's, I understand why, but that's not what we're looking for. And then finally, is our feedback applicable? Is the feedback we're giving them encouraging them to keep doing the right thing or to make an adjustment and do something different? So what should they keep doing? What should they do differently? And why? Right? Every leader I know, like, works with a team that wants not only to know what, but why. Why are we bagging that way? Why have we gone to this system? Why did we change that? Why are we, and we probably not answering every single question, but if you're telling me I'm doing it wrong, help me understand why it's wrong, and then how to do it differently, right? And then how will they know if they're on track? Like, give them like, hey, you'll know you're on the right track if you're seeing this, if it takes you this amount of time, if you're getting this response from the people you're trying to lead, if the scores look like this, if labor looks like this, if food cost is here, then we'll know that we're on the right track with some of this. Okay. One more fundamental, and then I want to hear from you guys. So we want to be on time. We want to be on target. And then this is the most nuanced and maybe the most important. We have to have touch. We have to have touch. So the goal is not to throw feedback at people as hard and as fast as we can. Like, we have to deliver it to them in a way they can catch. Now, so in football, this is actually what Google says about touch throwing a football. It's talking about the quality of the throw, giving the receiver the best chance to catch the ball. And this involves controlling both the ball's arc and its speed to land softly for the receiver. And I think it's that last piece that I'm thinking of with touch. Like, I want it to be easy for them to catch it, even if it's kind of hard to hear. Okay, so what do I mean when I talk about touch on our feedback? Well, we have to be aware of our emotions, right? Because you care a lot about your business, you care a lot about your mission, you care a lot about your people and your goals, and you probably have some kind of feeling about, especially if it's constructive feedback, about like, man, that's not right and that bothers me, right? You probably also have a tone when it comes time to give feedback. Like, you're saying something with the tone in your voice and with your body language. And then lastly, you probably have some words. Now, most people, when we talk about giving feedback, they are most worried about the last piece. What am I supposed to say? And how do I say the right thing? And that matters. But maybe you've seen research like this that shows that most of what people hear from us does not come from our words. It comes mostly from our body language, and then secondarily from our tone of voice. So the emotion we've got, the tone in our voice, the expression on our face, whether we're closed and angry or whether we're open, and maybe this graph shows it a little better. That little piece of pie, that's the words you choose. And the words matter, right? The words are important. You can use words that trigger people. You can use words that unlock things for people. But before they ever hear the words, they're going to hear your touch. Are you calm? Are you positive? Are you open? Are you listening? Are you trying to connect with them? And Megan, you were touching on this. You also have to consider that everybody doesn't receive feedback the same way, right? When it comes to receiving something, we all have a different kind of capacity for that. Now, in football, they call this the catch radius. And what they mean is this. It's the spatial area around a receiver where they can successfully catch a pass. It's a measure of a receiver's ability to reach and secure the ball, encompassing their leaping ability, arm length, and overall reach, right? So here's the basic idea. I'm 5'9", and at my physical peak, I could vertical leap about 30 inches off the ground. And so there was a spot where I could probably reach the ball. This guy on the screen, retired football player, he was 6'5", and he could jump over 3.5 feet in the air. So you could throw it a little higher and he could grab it. You could throw it a little further out there and he could go get it. I wouldn't be able to catch it. He could catch it. You probably have some people on your team that are like this. Man, if you'll just offer it, they got it. They're hungry, they're humble, they're teachable, they trust you, right? You have people like that. And then you have people you're like, man, their window's really small. I got to be on time. I got to be on target. I got to have some touch. Because in the end, I want them to receive it. I want them to be able to take what I have to offer them. And if you want to understand somebody's catch radius, I think asking questions, like Megan was kind of suggesting, great way to like kind of learn. Like, so learning, how do you like to receive feedback? Or I think asking people like, what's the best feedback you ever got? Like, what was the most helpful? You might be like, oh, they tell the story and they say, well, once a manager pulled me into the office and they told me the 5 things I was doing well and one thing that needed to be a little better. And you're like, all right, I think I got you. Or I have people tell me like, just tell me the truth. Like, don't hold back. Just hit me hard. And that's them. They want me to be like, hey, you're being a jerk, right? Or, hey, you're not being really wise here. Like that's just how they're built. So ask them what's the best feedback you've gotten. And then, so like, we're going to give you feedback. What would make it easier for you? Well, it'd be easier, if it happened after the shift, or it'd be easier if you actually wrote something down for me so I could take it and remember what you said or access the coaching notes, right? But just learning about them, right? And so they're your team, you're learning about them anyway. Okay, whew, that was a lot. Questions and thoughts on kind of these ideas. Are we timely? Is it on target? And then have we done our best, because we can only do what we can do, to put some touch on it so that they have the best chance to let it land with them? Okay, what do we think?
Yeah, I think the first thing, I think when I think about like my journey of giving feedback, the on time one really sticks out just because a lot of time I'm like, okay, I need to give feedback, and then I'll step away to really think about how I want to give them this feedback and how I want to approach it. And then time comes and it's like, that happened a couple weeks ago.
Mhm.
And then I'm like, oh, and then it's like, kind of was like a cop out on how not to give feedback because I was nervous to give feedback.
Mhm.
So I would use that as an excuse to be like, oh, well, it's been too late. And then I'd move on to the next thing and it would kind of just recycle of
Mhm.
me using that as an excuse not to, because there's a time when, yeah, like you said, there's a time when the feedback doesn't actually mean anything because it's been
Mhm.
too much time has passed.
I relate to that, Megan. And I'd encourage you, if you feel like that happens again, then you're looking for the pattern.
Yeah.
You know, they came in very distracted and they just didn't have a good shift and I didn't say anything. So now I'm just watching. If I see that again, then it's a chance for me to pull them aside and say, hey, you seem really distracted today. Not the first time, right?
Yeah.
So you don't want to cop out. I'm not suggesting to cop out, but it doesn't mean you can never go back and revisit. You just are looking for if you see the same thing again,
Yeah.
right? How about somebody else?
Well,
For
go
oh,
ahead,
for
Josiah.
me, for me, I like the on time too, because there's times where, like you said, we're busy and like, oh, I see this in passing. I really should say something, but this is a little bit more important than that in the moment. And then you
Mhm.
forget, it passes. Um, Something I liked was that you mentioned like looking for patterns, because for me, I've always struggled. Like, I don't want to come in hoping they do it wrong again. Look
Mhm.
for that pattern because almost feel like I'm targeting them, or like, oh, I don't want them to mess up again.
Mhm.
Um, so it's good to hear that like looking for patterns isn't a bad or necessarily a negative thing, but to see like, hey, if they are continuously messing up, how can I help them to not keep repeating the same mistake?
Mhm.
Hmm.
Mhm. And looking for where they're like getting it. Like, man,
Yeah,
she's catching on. Like, so I want to let her know, man, I see you catching on,
Yeah.
or I at least see the effort. Like, no,
yeah.
they're not fast enough yet, but I can see they're really trying and doing everything we taught them, and they just don't have the reps yet, right? Okay, somebody in our duo was going to speak up there.
Yeah. I just remember a specific instance with somebody, and it was very much about all three of these things. She was very sensitive, so I knew I definitely had to handle it kindly and like with a lot of positives first before
Hmm.
you give the feedback,
Hmm.
because I knew, and it's something that you had to do it at the right time as well,
Hmm.
because she's very, very sensitive. So you had to make sure before you gave the feedback that you gave her a lot of positives first, and with a
Hmm.
lot of touch with her too. And
Hmm.
and she took it well. Yeah.
Good. Good. And, you know, that's just an act of care, right? And I think as a young leader, the mistake I made was I equated care with not giving the feedback. Well, I've learned that's exactly wrong. Like if I really care, I'm going to tell them what they're doing well and how they need to be better. But then the way I deliver, I need to have some touch and care
Yeah.
around it. And there are people like, look, you can just tell me, great. Thanks for making it easy for me. And I'm honoring you because you've said, don't hold back, just tell me. Okay. I'm doing for you what you want and need. And then for the people that like they care so much, anytime they hear they're not quite where they should be, they beat themselves up more than we ever could.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm going to care for them by I'm gonna go a little gentler as I deliver it, probably, right?
Yeah.
D, any thoughts about any of these and what you've learned or observed or where you double down?
No, I just think more on the proactive side of it, like what you said earlier, but you're gonna see what you're looking for. So if I'm going in there and I'm actively, it's easy to go in there and find the critical things. But if I'm actively going in there and be like, okay, today I want to be looking for ways to reinforce people, and to encourage them. Like, I think there's a lot of missed opportunities I've been guilty of over the years because I had an operator one time who said like, I don't need to be told I did a good job, so therefore they shouldn't either. It's like I became an operator not having to have that. It's like, okay, well, but kind of what Jamie said, some people are more sensitive to it, but we can't treat them all the same. And so I think just being very aware of making sure that we're proactively, giving the encouragement and not just the criticism is a very important skill that is easy to get lost in the wind with all the chaos and the whirlwind you all are in each and every day.
Yes.
So being very intentional with when I go in there today, I want to make sure that I build some credibility and lay a foundation for when I have to have that critical conversation through
Yes.
laying some encouragement down.
No, that's good, man. You're just making deposits, right? And they don't have to be fake and false. They need to be genuine, right? And you may find that with those leaders who are like, hey, I don't tell me what I'm doing right, you may have to be even more strategic about, hey, I saw this moment where you did this and it really impressed me. It can't just be like, hey, the pickles were right on the bun. Like, of course, I expect that to be right for me, right? But you might have to, with those folks, you might have to be even more specific. Hey, I really appreciated when he was struggling, you stepped in and took over and, just loved your leadership there. Thank you. Okay, two more, and they're quick, right? And it's kind of, I would say, what happens after the feedback. I would suggest we need to review. So if you're going to watch and check back, if you're going to watch any football, you're probably going to see scenes like this. After the offense comes off the field, they get their iPads or window tablets, and together, usually coaches and players look at it to kind of see, okay, what happened there? We didn't get the result we wanted. Why not? Right? So when it comes to giving feedback, here's some things you could do. You could ask some questions to assess, right? One of my favorite questions is asking people that I've given feedback to, okay, what did you hear me say? And probably half the time they heard something other than what I said. Well, I heard you say I can't do anything right. Nope, not what I said. I heard you say you don't appreciate me. Not what I said, but it might be what they heard, right? Because it might be about what's going on in their head. If you've had to give some feedback that you can tell was difficult, might not be the worst thing to circle back and say, hey, I just want to check in. How did that land? Like, it actually was hard for me to say it because I knew it'd be hard for you to hear it, but I care enough about you. We're not going to withhold that kind of stuff from you. But now that it's been a day, how's that sitting with you? Or even like, hey, do you have any follow-up questions? And this isn't like, hey, you forgot to repeat the order kind of feedback. This is probably, these are the big passes, right? That we're trying to cover a big distance. So go back and ask. And then did they implement it? Because the goal's not just that we say it, the goal is that they take it and use it. So afterwards, we might want to circle back and provide a little bit of accountability. Are they using what we gave them? And then are they improving? And if they're doing it and it's working, we just affirm. And if not, then we just have more opportunities to coach. Right? So when we give the feedback, we're not really done. And then the last thing I just encourage you is just get some reps because almost any skill gets better the more you practice, right? And giving feedback is something we have to keep practicing. So just be intentional. You know, again, are you bringing this filter with you? Like I love polarized lenses on my sunglasses, and it's amazing what I can see with the polarized lens. And I'll say to my wife, "Do you see that?" And she'll be like, "Nope." And I'll hand her my glasses, and she'll be like, "Oh, wow." So, are you coming in with eyes to see what's right? Are you coming in with eyes to see what might need some adjustment? Right? Are you coming in not like, how do we just survive this thing? But how do we have a great shift and help the team get better today? How do we push toward our goals? And then I think we have opportunities to just build in some rhythms. So I don't know if any of you guys do huddles pre or post shift. That's a perfect time to give some feedback, even maybe preemptive feedback. Hey, today we're really focusing on X. So I'm going to be looking for that. When I see it right, I'm going to holler it out. When I see it needing a job, I'm going to holler it out. Or you might have some recurring meetings with people like, hey, you've got some younger leaders under you and you connect 30 minutes every other week. And that's a built-in spot to talk about here's what's really good, here's where we can get better. And then maybe you even have some rhythms of reviews, right? So this doesn't have to all be spontaneous. Like we can build this into our rhythms as an organization or a team. Okay, here's what I'd love for you to do. We have just a couple minutes left. I'd love for you to think about some of these that you do well. Great. You've learned this. You're still learning it. Keep it going. And then I'd love for you to identify if I could really work on one or two this month.